October 1943, a brutal battle is won. But for 194 soldiers, victory is a death sentence. Miles away, the engines of friendly bombers roar to life. Their target, this exact position. Their radios are silent. They are completely cut off, invisible to their own side. With only minutes before they are wiped from the map, their last desperate chance to stop the coming firestorm is not a machine or a weapon, but a messenger weighing less than a pound. The world is tearing itself apart. In the heart of Italy, the ancient village of Vecchia clings to a rugged hillside, a cluster of stone and tile that has witnessed centuries of peace and turmoil. But it has never seen anything like this. The air, thick with the autumnal haze of the Volturno Valley, is poisoned with the acrid stench of cordite and diesel fumes. Every street is a battlefield. Every window a potential sniper's nest. For days, the men of the British 56th London Infantry Division have been locked in a brutal, grinding battle against the determined German force. They are ghosts in khaki, their faces gaunt and smeared with grime, their movements heavy with exhaustion. The advance up the Italian peninsula has been a relentless nightmare of mud, blood, and machine gun fire. This village is just one more objective on a map saturated with red ink, but to the men fighting for it, it is the entire world. A world of collapsing walls, ricocheting bullets, and the constant, gnawing fear of a death far from home. Communication, the lifeblood of any modern army, has been severed. The mountainous terrain, a beautiful and unforgiving landscape, has rendered their radios useless, transforming them into dead weight. They are deaf to the orders of high command, and command is blind to their desperate situation. Before the silence descended, they had sent out one last, urgent plea. Pinned down by withering fire from German machine guns dug into the village, they requested air support, an equalizer, a rain of high explosives to shatter the enemy's defenses and break the bloody stalemate. Far to the south, at an American air base, that message was received. The gears of war turned. A squadron of B-25 Mitchell bombers, sleek, powerful killing machines, are being ready. Their silver fuselages gleam under the Italian sun as armorers load racks of 500-pound bombs into their bellies. Each bomb is a promise of annihilation, destined to erase Vecchia from the map. The pilots, confident and focused, are in their briefing room, memorizing flight paths and drop coordinates. For them, Vecchia is just a set of numbers, a target to be neutralized. They have no idea who is down there. They are simply following orders. But on the ground, the chaos of battle has taken an unexpected turn. In a sudden, desperate surge, the 69th London Infantry Brigade finds a weakness in the German lines. Fueled by a raw primal instinct to survive, they push forward with everything they have left. Bayonets are fixed. Grenades are thrown. The fighting devolves into a savage, intimate ballet of violence in the narrow cobblestone streets. And they succeed. The German defense cracks, then shatters completely. The enemy retreats, leaving the British in possession of the battered village. Victory. But as the adrenaline fades, a cold, terrifying realization washes over the surviving British soldiers. They have taken the objective. They are alive, but they are also standing on their own graves. Their radios are still silent. They have no way to tell the world of their success. And somewhere, Allied bombers are warming their engines, their crews preparing to fly north and unleash a storm of fire and steel directly onto their position. They have survived the enemy, only to be condemned by their friends. The very air support they begged for is now a death sentence, counting down with every tick of the clock. They are trapped, not by German guns, but by a terrible, unbreachable silence, marooned on an island of victory that is about to be wiped off the face of the earth. In the midst of the most technologically advanced war in human history, The United States Army relied on a communication system that was ancient, elegant, and astonishingly effective. The U.S. Army Pigeon Service, a corps of over 54,000 specially bred and trained homing pigeons, managed by more than 3,000 dedicated soldiers. In an era where radio signals could be intercepted and codes could be broken, these birds were a secure, low-tech solution to a high-tech problem. They flew under the radar, their messages immune to eavesdropping. Their success rate was staggering. Over 90% of the messages they carried reached their destination. They were not ordinary birds. They were the product of generations of selective breeding, the descendants of champion racers, capable of flying hundreds of miles over unfamiliar territory at incredible speeds. One of the most remarkable of these feathered soldiers was a dark checker pied cock. Hatched in March, his official designation was USA 43SC 6390. To the men of the Signal Corps, he was simply known as G.I. Joe. He had seen service in North Africa, flying missions on the Tunisian front, before being transferred with his mobile loft to the brutal Italian campaign. He was a veteran, hardened by the sights and sounds of war. Back in the ruins of Calvi Vecchia, the British commanding officer stares at the sky, his mind racing. The American air base is 20 miles away, 20 miles of enemy-held territory, patrolled by German soldiers who knew that a lone pigeon flying with purpose was a messenger carrying vital intelligence. It was a long shot, a desperate gamble, but it was the only one they had. He gives the order. A pigeoneer, one of the American soldiers attached to the British unit, steps forward, carrying a small wooden crate. Inside, G.I. Joe shuffles, his keen eyes observing the tense, upturned faces. The officer hastily scribbles a message on a tiny square of thin paper. The words are few, but they carry the weight of hundreds of lives. The 69th Brigade has captured Calvi Vecchia. Call off the bombing. The note is rolled into a tight scroll and slipped into a tiny aluminum canister. With practiced, gentle hands, the pigeoneer fastens the canister to G.I. Joe's leg. The bird remains calm, cooing softly, unaware that he has just become the single point of failure between life and certain death for every soul in this village. The soldiers in the square fall silent. The sounds of distant battle fade away. Every eye is fixed on the small bird. The pigeon raises his hands to the sky. He holds G.I. Joe for a moment, a silent communion between man and bird. Then he lets go. With a powerful flurry of wings, G.I. Joe launches himself into the air. He circles the shattered bell tower once, a dark silhouette against the pale sky, taking his bearings, his internal, infallible compass, locking onto the magnetic signature of home. Then he straightens his flight path and shoots south, a living arrow of hope, fired from a bow of despair. The soldiers watch, holding their breath, until he is just a tiny receding speck. Then he is gone. They have placed their faith and their lives in the wings of a pigeon. Now all they can do is wait and pray that he is fast enough. The 20-mile journey is an eternity. For G.I. Joe, the world below is a blur of olive groves and terraced hillsides, scarred by the black wounds of shell craters and the skeletal remains of farmhouses. He flies with a relentless, driving urgency, his powerful wings pumping like pistons. He is a marvel of biological engineering, capable of speeds approaching 60 miles per hour. He must maintain this pace. He must not falter. The sky is not a sanctuary. German patrols on the ground are a constant threat. A single lucky shot from a Mayasa rifle is all it would take to send him spiraling out of the air, his vital message lost forever. He is a tiny, vulnerable target in a vast, hostile expanse. His only defense is his speed and his unwavering instinct, a primal force pulling him towards the one place on Earth he knows as home. 20 miles away at the American air base, the ground trembles with a different kind of power. The air is thick with the deafening thunder of Wright's cyclone engines. The B-25 Mitchell bombers, arranged in perfect formation, are moving into position on the runway. In the cramped cockpits, pilots and co-pilots run through their final checklists. The navigators confirm their course. The bombardiers make their final adjustments. They are a professional, efficient team, moments away from unleashing hell on a target designated as Calvi Vecchia. They are focused, determined, and completely oblivious to the fact that the village is now filled with their allies. The success of the British troops has made them the enemy. G.I. Joe flies on. He crosses the winding Volturno River, a silver serpent slithering through the war-ravaged landscape. He feels the pull of home growing stronger, a magnetic tether reeling him in. He has flown training missions from this direction before, but never like this, never with a sense of purpose so sharp, so absolute. He can see the airbase now, a sprawling complex carved out of the Italian countryside. He begins his descent, tucking his wings, transforming from a cruising bird into a feathered dive bomber. He homes in on the mobile loft, his specific destination in this vast sea of military hardware. He lands with a soft flutter on the entrance board, his chest heaving, his mission complete. As his feet touch the wood, he trips a tiny switch, ringing a small bell inside the nearby command tent. A signal corps pigeoneer, perhaps half dozing in the afternoon heat, hears the faint jingle. He recognizes the signal instantly. A bird has returned from the front. He rushes to the loft and sees G.I. Joe panting, but unharmed. The soldier's training takes over. His eyes go straight to the leg, to the small silver canister. He knows this bird was dispatched with the 69th Brigade. The message it carries is not routine. It is critical. He gently removes the canister, his fingers working quickly to unfasten the cap. He unrolls the tiny slip of paper. He reads the words, and the color drains from his face. He doesn't hesitate. He spins on his heel and bursts out of the tent, the note clutched in his fist like a sacred relic, screaming for his commanding officer. He can see the lead bomber, its engines at full throttle, already hurtling down the runway. The pilot of the lead B-25 is consumed by the moment of takeoff. His world has narrowed to the instruments in front of him and the rapidly diminishing stretch of runway. The noise is of physical pressure vibrating through his entire body. Then, a flicker of frantic movement in his peripheral vision. A man running on the grass beside the runway, waving his arms like his life depends on it. The pilot's first reaction is a flash of anger. This is a catastrophic breach of protocol. But as the running figure gets closer, he sees the raw, undiluted panic in the man's eyes. This is not a mistake. This is an emergency. In a heartbeat, he makes a decision that will alter the course of hundreds of lives. He yanks back the throttles. The deafening roar of the engine sputters and dies. The massive bomber, laden with fuel and explosives, lurches as it decelerates, its tires screaming in protest as it slows to a stop just shy of the end of the tarmac. The breathless officer reaches the cockpit window and shoves the tiny, sweat-stained piece of paper into the pilot's hands. The mission is scrubbed. The bombers turn back. The planned obliteration of Calvi Vecchia is cancelled. G.I. Joe had flown 20 miles in exactly 20 minutes. He had arrived not a moment too soon. Had he been delayed by even a few minutes, the bombers would have been airborne and unreachable, and the story of Calvi Vecchia would have ended as a tragedy of friendly fire. The news of the heroic flight and the disaster it averted spread quickly. The men of the 69th Brigade, who had been bracing for an apocalypse delivered by their own side, had been saved. The Italian civilians sheltering in their cellars had been saved. General Mark Clark, the commander of the U.S. Fifth Army, would later estimate that G.I. Joe's flight single-handedly saved the lives of over 100 British soldiers and the 1,000 or more civilians in the village. The war was far from over, but for this one pigeon, his greatest mission was complete. His bravery was formally recognized. In November of 1946, Joe was flown to London, where he was awarded the Dickin Medal for gallantry, the highest possible honor for an animal in wartime service. The citation praised him for making the most outstanding flight made by a United States Army pigeon in World War II. He was the first non-British animal to ever receive the award. After the war, G.I. Joe enjoyed a well-deserved retirement at the U.S. Army's Churchill Loft at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, a hall of fame for avian heroes. When the pigeon service was officially disbanded in 1957, he was moved to the Detroit Zoological Gardens, living peacefully until the age of 8. His story endures as a powerful testament, a reminder that in the midst of the immense, impersonal machinery of modern warfare, courage can be found in the smallest of hearts, and salvation can arrive, not with the roar of an engine, but on the silent, beating wings of a hero.